I want to talk to you about what happens to all of us when we die, when our bodies die and our souls carry on. But before I do that, I want to make an invitation open to you for episode 47 of my podcast called the Die, Laugh, Love podcast. It's completely free. It's online via Zoom. It's happening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tonight. You can find that link on my website at joshsimons.com. But I want to answer some questions for folks who might be curious about this topic and why it's so important to consider, not only for us, but for the people that carry on before us. Okay, so I started this path in 2017 when I had a whole bunch of weird things start happening to me, things I couldn't explain. I was wondering if perhaps I was going crazy. So to find out what happened, I ran a science experiment, a literal science experiment. And what I did, and here's a little bit of my Graham's French, I fucked around and I found out. And this is what I did. So Halloween night of 2017, I had my husband get me 9 people that I did not know. I did not want to know them. I didn't want to know their name. So I would sit with them and tell them what I was receiving, the impressions, sensations, tastes, smells, all of that would come to me. And the very first woman that I sat with, I asked her a very strange question. I said, "Ma'am, are you a recovering Christian?" And that's a weird question to ask a stranger, absolutely. But come to find out, she was a former minister. She was a minister for a church. She was standing up for the word of Christ, love your neighbor, and the church elders in that particular denomination were not having it, and they booted her. And this was the very first thing that came to me when I sat with her. She was a recovering Christian. Her heart was devastated. Now, from that Halloween of 2017 to today, I've sat with hundreds of groups, if not thousands. I've sat with thousands of individuals in person and across the world. And here's what I've learned about what happens to us when we pass away. And I've learned so much from people in spirit. So, when you're alive, you are the marriage of flesh and spirit. You are like a horse and a rider married together. You have a mind, you have a heart, you have a body, you have a soul. That body of yours really wants to survive. This is where people get hangry. This is why people can do really strange things when they have no food in their house, because the body wants to survive. But when you're alive, when you come into this world, you're an algebra equation. And I hate that algebra is the answer to everything, but it really is. We are a set of variables. My parents are different than your parents. My upbringing was different than yours. If you had church growing up, that was a different variable. If you watched TV growing up, that was a different variable. So we're the products of all the things that we're exposed to, from religion, advertising, on and on and on and on. Okay, when we die, when the soul or rider leaves the body or horse, what goes on is we go through a life review. We are gathered up by our loved ones in spirit, our family members, our angels, the ones who watch us, and we go through a life review. We look at all the things that we did or didn't do. We understand this world from a much higher perspective. The people who have spent their lifetimes hating their body, they go to spirit and they understand that it was actually advertising and Hollywood bullshit that caused them to do that. So for me, the spiritual path is figuring out how we've been messed up by our parents, by our schooling, by our advertising, by TV, by trauma, by abuse, so we can get to the beauty and the glory of our soul while we're here. But that world that we go to, the world of spirit, it's not like the heaven that's depicted to us in cartoons or in Bible school. It's not like some distant or disconnected dimension that doesn't interact with us. The world of spirit, heaven, paradise, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it, is right here. And the analogy that I always use is it's like a one-way mirror that we would see in a cop show, where our spirits are on the side of the cops. They see us, they feel us, they know us, and we are on the side of the suspects, pretty oblivious to what's going on the other side. But here's what goes on when we're dead. We're not static. We don't just go to this place and pass out. We are involved in the lives of our loved ones. And I'm not ever going to offer anybody hokey bullshit just because it's a comfortable truth. Not everybody who's in spirit is at peace. we'd lose our bodies. So if we had pain in our bodies, we no longer have that pain. But if we were really awful people, if we were abusive, if we intentionally hurt others, we get to see how that happened. We get to see how it rolls out. We get to see how that affects people. I have abusive people in my own family line from generations back, and their tempers, their abuse has played a role in even my life. When I move to understand that, heal that, mitigate it in myself and in other people, I'm doing what people call ancestral healing. I'm healing those ancestors who are watching over us and suffering because they now see the effects and the repercussions of their own actions. Excuse me. If we want our loved ones in spirit to rest in peace, we must live in peace. I have a grandmother who's in spirit, and she had the worst life I can think of. She lost her mother at 5. She grew up with her dad in the beer gardens of Barrie, Vermont. She had a very awful life. She had to bury her husband. She buried 2 children. She buried that father that she loved. She lived a very long, hard life. I want my grandmother in spirit to rest in peace, so I have to focus on my own. I focus on the peace of my family, both living and in spirit, because that's the nature of love. This has nothing to do with life or death. This has everything to do with love. I'm still blessed to have my parents. I want my parents to be at peace. Their son has to be at peace. Their son has to be at peace. My suffering, because they love me, is their suffering. And that's the nature of love. The people that we love, their peace is our peace. The people that suffer in our lives that we love, their suffering is ours. I have a son. I want him to be at peace. When he suffers, I suffer. That's the nature of love. So not everybody in spirit's at peace, because a whole lot of them are watching us all be collectively hurting, hating ourselves, falling for just bullshit and propaganda, things that separate us from our family. And while there is no hell, there is no lake of fire where we burn for all eternity, there is regret. There is regret. So if you can work on minimizing your regret, if you can work on minimizing your pain and suffering, you minimize the pain and suffering of those who love you, both in spirit and in life. That's what goes on when we're in spirit. That's what goes on when we're dead. Now, those loved ones in the spirit, they watch over us. They give us messages. They are, to a great degree, our source of intuition. So, listen to your gut. Find your peace. Find your peace. Become, as much as you can, okay with your body, your path. And if there's anything in your life that you need to change it. Not from a place of hating yourself, but from loving yourself. Take care of the person that they love. I am going to take care of my grandmother's grandson, which is me. You should do the same for you. And that's what I get for doing this work. And I'm very grateful for it. I'm very, very grateful for it. So tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Zoom, you can find all of that. Join me, and who knows who's going to come through with what message. I'm always surprised and delighted when that happens. So all my love to you. Take care of yourself, and find that Zoom link, my podcast episodes, on my website at joshsimons.com.